At this juncture, I am honored to call on the board and college secretary of the newly established Pangasinan Polytechnic College and the president of the Youth for Pangasinan Heritage, our beloved President Nicanor Hermono Jr., for the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Marion. So once again, good morning and maabig yakabwasan at si Karen Amin, our participants for our Tawir Talks entitled Empowering Youth for Sustainable Future. So I'd like to of course, acknowledge the presence of our speaker for this morning, Professor Johannes Widodo. Thank you again for being with us today and for confirming your participation in this activity. So we are conducting this in celebration of the National Heritage Month here in the Philippines for 2024. So I will make this very brief. So we are doing this not only to serve as an information campaign or an information drive to emphasize the importance of heritage in our call to action for climate action and for our sustainability, no? For our advocacy for sustainability. So this is also an inspiration. We want to inspire our fellow youth and the other stakeholders to be part of this campaign, of this advocacy, to really highlight the importance of culture, of heritage in our campaign for heritage and environmental conservation, especially environment. So we really believe that nature is as important as culture, if not more important than culture. So we really have to, take on the different actions to really preserve and conserve and protect our environment, especially with the rising heat index. We've seen that in the past weeks and months. So this is really a timely and relevant topic that we should be focusing on, and we should be talking about among ourselves and, of course, with our other relevant stakeholders. So once again, thank you and welcome to this webinar organized by the Youth for Pangasinan Heritage in partnership with the Pangasinan Youth for Disaster Risk Reduction and Management and in celebration of the National Heritage Month 2024. So mabuhay ang ating pamana and good day everyone.
Now, I'm sure our participants are excited as I am. It is my pleasure to introduce our distinguished speaker for this webinar. Our honorable speaker is the Director of Graduate Programs in Architectural Conservation in Ton Tan Cheng Lock Center for Asian Architectural and Urban Heritage at the National University of Singapore. He is an associate member of the Singapore Institute of Architects, the founder of MAAN, or the Modern Asian Architecture Network, an executive committee member of the Asian Academy for Heritage Management, a jury member for the UNESCO Asia Pacific Awards for Cultural Heritage Conservation, a member of the International Committee on Monuments and Sites, International Scientific Committee, and a founding member and director of ECOMOS National Committee of Singapore and Indonesia, a founding member of Docomomo Macau and Singapore, and the founder and executive director of INTA, or the International Network of Tropical Architecture. He served as an advisory board member of the Preservation of Sites and Monuments of the National Heritage Board of Singapore from 2013 to 2019, and a board member of SEACHA, or the Southeast Asian Cultural Heritage Alliance, since 2019, and a member of the Singapore chapter of TCHS, or the Circle of Human Sustainability since 2022. He received his first professional degree in architecture from Parahyangan Catholic University in Indonesia, a Master of Architectural Engineering from Catholic Universitat Leuven in Belgium, and a PhD in architecture from the University of Tokyo in Japan. So let us give a warm welcome to Dr. Johan Widodo. Dr. Widodo, the screen is now yours.
Hi, thank you, Marian. Can you help me to share the screen from your side? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just start very quickly because it's better to have more time for discussion later. So I was given a very complicated title here: Empowering Youth for Sustainable Futures, Exploring the Intersection of Heritage Sustainability and Climate Actions. So this is not an easy topic, but I'm trying to make it easy to all of us. Okay, next. Well, I will start with Mahatma Gandhi. I believe everyone knows Mahatma Gandhi, right? And he said, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's needs, but not every man's greed. So the issue about climate change, about all these heritage conservations and developments is all related to ethics. It's related to, as like Mahatma Gandhi said, it's about greed. Wherever the earth, the nature itself, is enough for everyone. Next. And why we are talking to the youth is more important. I have to confess and ask to forgiveness for on behalf of my generations and my father generations, because my father generation and my generation screw up the world. We are the culprit of all this climate change and all this inequality in the world. And why I'm very happy to talk to you all, because you have the youth power. You have idealism. You love authenticity. You prefer simplicity. You still have honesty, optimism, and positive thinking. So I hope all of you here is not contaminated by our generations. So you see, this small girl now has become a big girl, and she keep talking about climate change, Greta Thunberg. And she said in the UN Climate Summit in New York, 2019, the eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. This is the voice of your generations to my generations and my father generations. Next. So this is what happened. My generation, is messed up with this. What is happening to our common home now? Pollutions, waste, and throwaway culture. You know, by throwaway culture, we use so many plastics and just use once and then just throw away. We use pen, and once the pen finishes, we just throw away and buy a new pen. You don't even thinking of recycling or buying the refills for the pen. You just throw everything. Clothes, you know, it's very easy to buy anything from online, Shopee, whatever. So that is the cause of climate change. And also, there is no shortage of water, but it's so difficult to get water. It's so expensive because water that's supposed to be free is become so expensive and unaffordable, if not polluted. Loss of biodiversity, decline in the quality of human life and breakdown of society, global inequality, social economic polarity, economic greed, and the need of social justice. And we add again and again with this so-called the pandemic. So COVID, the previous is not the end. It will come again in a different form, stronger. There's a war everywhere. And of course, economic recession and inflations. You see, Japanese yen, Malaysian ringgit, Philippine pesos, Indonesian rupiah, all goes down. Everything has become so expensive. Singapore has become one of the most expensive countries in the world as well. So this is happening to our home. Next. Next. So I quote this Theodore Roosevelt, our old grandfather. And he said, conservations. Now we connect with conservation. Conservation means development. So it's not about freezing the past. It's not about nostalgia, but conservation is about development as much as it does protections. So the definition of conservation is management of change. So we cannot freeze the past, but we need to develop. So whatever we build today is the heritage of tomorrow. Tomorrow is become heritage, right? So it's about protection and development. Okay, before this, sorry, come back. I recognize the right and duty of these generations to develop and use the natural resources of our land. But I do not recognize the right to waste them or to rob by wasteful use the generations that come after us. So that is a point that he made, that highlighting my concern. Please forgive my generations because we mess up with the world, and then I inherit this to your generations, and you have to face the consequences of climate change. Next. So everybody is screaming. So if you look, you read the encyclical by Pope Francis several years ago, Laudato Si, or Care of Our Common Home. Even when Pope Francis became a pope, from Bergoglio, he changed his name and he used the name Francis. It's a very symbolic gesture to see how serious is this issue are. Next. So that's the animations of the so-called the tropical belt. So tropical belt is not like in the old school textbook. In the old school textbook, the so-called the tropic seems very static. It's in between the Tropic of Capricorn and the Tropic of Cancer, 23 degrees north and south. But see, in reality, it's pulsating. And the yellow and the red one is moving up and down. So people in Japan, for example, can experience extreme heat up to maybe 40 degrees centigrade. So the so-called subtropic and so on is not static. So climate crisis is related to economic and environmental issue, directly related to human behavior and ethics. So there is a necessity to change our behavior. Maybe you can reflect yourself. If you want to buy iPhone, new iPhone 15 or 14 or whatever, please ask yourself, is it what I want or is it what I need? Because if you just do selfie, uploading to Instagram or doing, say, like WhatsApp, iPhone 8 is okay. You don't need that function. You never did anything related to LiDAR. If you want to use LiDAR, iPhone 12 can do that. You don't need to have iPhone 15 or 20, right? And then yet every year, new models come, we throw away the old one and we buy the new one. We take out all money to do that. So this is something that I think I mentioned is about ethics and behavior. We need to change from consumptive to productive, from destroying to caring. Okay, next. So we are talking about this, maybe the next one to just show the, yeah, just press enter on the next one. We are talking about people at the center. The intersections about all these themes that is mentioned at the beginning of this seminar is people. We are not talking about buildings. We are not talking about mountains. We are not talking about something related to the past. Heritage is not something related to the past. Conservation is not anti-development, but for the sake of good development. Conservation is about people, not about money or politics. Conservation is about management of change, ensuring continuity and keeping the identity. So heritage management is about keeping and passing the inheritance from the past and present into the future generations. So if we are not doing well now, we mess up with everything that we have now, culture, nature, architecture, city, whatever, then we committed sins against our ancestors. And worse, we are committed deadly sins to the next generations, our children and grandchildren generations, because whatever we have now is not belong to us. It's just passing through us. Next. So United Nations has this agreement of all nations, 17 SDGs. So I think everybody knows about this. They acknowledge our problems right now. No poverty. Yeah, the target should be achieved by 2030, means 6 years from now, according to the pledge of everyone, the all member of United Nations in 2011, that in 6 years from now, there should not any poverty left. It's zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, blah, 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 until 70. And we know that it's impossible. How even in the Philippines that you can resolve the issue of poverty and hunger and good educations in the next 6 years? Okay, blame it to COVID. We know everything is messed up by COVID. So maybe we can extend it to 2050. It means my generation pass all this problem to your generations, because you will live longer. I will disappear from this world in the next few years or tomorrow, I don't know. So you have to face these consequences. And if you look into the Sustainable Development Goals, the so-called World Heritage Sites, everybody now crazy about the listing, the UNESCO. I just back from Pohon last 2 days ago. And then the church, everybody is so excited that the church will be Augustinian, listing of the Augustinian churches in the Philippines. So it's a tentative list. But a lot of people actually forgot that this UNESCO World Heritage things is not a marketing to get mass tourism. But it is directly related to environmental sustainability, directly related to inclusive social development, inclusive economic development, and fostering peace and security. There is no tourism mentions there. There is no so-called the additional GDP or income for the country, none. Because UNESCO is nothing to do with tourism. UNESCO is about E, education, S, science, and C, culture. Okay, next. Well, now we talk about sustainability. We always think heritage from the aesthetic point of view only, or from nostalgic, architectural style. No, this is an example that we use a lot of roof tiles, brick, the colonial building, Intramuros, is built by brick. There's a lot of building built by brick. You know that brick actually is not sustainable material. Well, you see, this is the number, but to make it simpler, if you want to make a brick, you need to burn the brick for 10 days or 20 days. And you can imagine how much carbon is being burned just to produce one brick. So if you have a brick building and then you want to develop that area, we want to make a high-rise building because it's modernizations. Then we demolish that brick and we throw that brick away. So we created a double carbon footprint, right? One is by wasting the embodied carbon that's already there. And second, we're creating a new carbon footprint by adding things. Okay, next. And digital technology, AI, yes, it's very helpful. If you have ChatGPT now, so you can write an essay asking AI to help you. And you can even avoid the plagiarism detections. Everything is very smart now. But digital technology, internet, solar panels, blockchains are not sustainable. If you use solar panel made in China, that can only last for 5 or 10 years. After that, it doesn't function. It will not function anymore. It's dead. And the cost to recycle solar panel is extremely expensive and it's impossible. So it's become rubbish and pollutant worse than plastic. Especially if our government is pushing into the solar panelizations of everything. All right, so it's not the answer. So you see, all of this is carbon emissions. Even the so-called the internet, if there's no power, electricity, there is no internet. And where's the power come from? It's not from the sky. The power came from burning fossil fuel, from gas, right? And then you look into this said a statement. This is my statement. We are living in the black hole of civilization. Why? Because we uploaded everything into the cloud. If there is no electricity, there is no internet. If there is no internet, all connectivity and clouds are gone. And the lifespan of physical storage, hard disk, DVD-ROM, is very limited, and technology will expire. Okay, digital technology is almost everything, but problems related to digital divide. Not everybody got access to you can imagine what happened in the Philippines during COVID. Not every student's able to get access to the material because they don't have devices. They don't have a proper laptop or handphone. Not to mention the internet connections. Not to mention the bandwidth. Not only the content. So all these illusions about this technology, AI, digital technology, is a deadly illusion. Because even now, if I want to look for a pictures that are uploaded to Instagram or Facebook, it's very, very difficult. And Facebook will disappear anytime. Google Drive will disappear anytime. It can be tomorrow. And then we lost everything. So that's why I make a point to buy a physical book for a very important book. I make a point to print at least 1 or 2 photos every year and keep real photo album. Why? Because when I forgot everything, I lost my memory, dementia, I sit in the old folks home with nobody's around. I forgot how to access my handphone. If I still have a handphone, forgot the password, then how lonely my life is. But if I still have a photograph, physical photograph, I can still flip. I still able to flip my album and to look into all the old good days. So I'll still be happy, right? So this is happening. As I say, why we are living in the black hole of civilization, because we digitize everything. We upload everything. It seems the internet is forever and it will not disappear. Okay, next. So if you look into the emissions, the cost of the emissions, just now I talk about brick, about building materials. Actually, it's not that much, but energy is one of the most damning things. 73% of emission greenhouse effect, greenhouse gas emission, is mostly done by energy, by burning things. And burning things is energy can be translated also into embodied carbon in concrete, in steel. You know how much energy used to burn steel or to burn glass or even aluminum? A lot of millions of calories. And that is easily translated to carbon. So I saw this sign somewhere on the street. If it can be reduced, reused, repaired, rebuilt, refurbished, refinished, resold, recycled, or composted, then it should be restricted, designed, or removed from productions. I think this is a very important principles and reminder of things. Why we need to conserve, why we need to do this recycle, refurbish, repair, and so on. If not, then of course the left graphic, the percentage of energy used to produce that will increase. Next. So one thing that we need to realize here is start to think circular, not linear anymore. If you want to produce something, building a house, if you are an architect or you are a contractor, you build a bridge. Yes, it's good to build a bridge. It's good to have a new house. But think from the circular economic perspective, from the choice of materials. I use if material can stand forever or can be recycled. It doesn't mean that you cannot build using concrete. But concrete can stay for 2,000 years or more. Why? Because during the Roman period, built the Colosseums, built the aqueduct using concrete. And that's still standing until now. So it doesn't make sense if we demolish concrete building, which is only 50 or 30 years old, for the sake of constructions. No? Because the reason of demolition actually is to make more money for the construction industry. So if we have a building made of brick, brick can even stand 3,000, 5,000 years old. You see all these temples, the Hindu Buddhist temples, are still standing in Thailand, in Indonesia, even if the building made of the volcanic stone, it can stand even longer. So if we still be able to use, then we have to recycle that, adaptive reuse, design, and so on. So this is what I mean. Don't think about single-use plastic. We also don't think about single-use building, or single-use clothes, or single-use food. Cannot be. It's not just single-use. It has to be multiple use, if possible, as much as possible. Next. Then, in terms of a development, we have to think about the integrated sustainable design principles. I mean, if we design a settlement, if we want to plan architecture, we want to plan an urban environment, the settlement design have to be related to urban structure, transportations, energy and material flows, and socio-economic. You see, there is a list on your right side. That's sustainable village design conceptual and villas. For example, if you want to develop your village or small town, when designing a sustainable village development, the designer, even not just the professional, but also the mayor, all the stakeholders, should bear in mind that number one, a prerequisite for reaching the goal of limiting global temperature increase to 1.5 degrees Celsius by the year 2050 in that new development, and should be aimed to zero emissions. It means you must think about recycle first before you demolish any building. Can we adaptively reuse? You go to Makati or to different places with the high-rise building. After COVID, 50% even more of the office spaces are empty because now people prefer work from home. And the economic has changed because you can buy anything, not by going to supermarket, but you can order online. So what happened to the empty spaces in the downtown area? What are you going to do with that? Right? So maybe one solution is to convert that into housing again. So the empty downtown area that is only alive for 12 hours become 24 hours town. So the downtown area is not dead anymore from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. in the morning. If we put, say, 100,000 people living back in the downtown by reusing the old empty spaces over there. The key driver of glasshouse gas emissions are density, urban layout, and texture, and so on. So I will not go into these details, but I think this is a change of paradigm in planning and design. Next one. Connectivity and walkability. Three things about buying a new car. It's better to improve the public transport system or infrastructure for cycling, infrastructure for jogging and walking. Don't let the city sprawl into few hundred kilometers, but live in the compact city so you can walk everywhere. So the so-called 10-minute city doesn't mean that it's 10 minutes by using private car. 10-minute city means you can find anything that you need within 10 minutes walking distance. If you cannot walk, maybe 10 minutes by bicycle. But how to cycle, for example, in Manila, or in even the city like Cebu, or even in Pangasinan, or in San Carlos. How to cycle? It's so hot, and you can get killed by the truck, by the bus, because there is no pedestrian. And even there is a pedestrian, there's a lot of holes, and it's not smooth. So you have to think first about how to make easy for anybody to walk and to cycle safely. Children, people on wheelchair, elders, and it's well protected from rain, well protected from sun, from cancer, right? Because ultraviolet, too much ultraviolet exposure is bad for cancer or for skin. So all this is talking about connectivity and walkability that will make people choose to walk rather than to take a car. And maybe you can give them a tax, very heavy tax, for having a car, private car. So people will choose public transport and improve public transport. Yeah, jeepney is nice as a souvenir. But you can imagine tricycle and jeepney. Well, sometimes I have this hard feeling. I was in Polhorn, right? So I need the tricycle, and there's still tricycle that also still use manpower, not gasoline power. And you see the contour is not flat; it's going up and down. So I feel like I'm violating human rights if I let somebody, pedaling for me, going up the hill. It's only for a few hundred pesos, right? But then if I choose the motorized tricycle, yes, it's nice. It can go further distance, but I burn carbon. I'm creating carbon footprint. If I walk, it's so hot, and there's no pedestrian path, so I can get killed by the bus, right? So this is a dilemma that has to be resolved by the urban planner and urban designer. So if one day you become urban planner or designer, think about this, how to create this safety, comfort zone for all ages. Okay, next. Yeah, and also about the water, right? So I said at the beginning that water has become so expensive, although it's free, but it doesn't mean that climate change caused the water issue. It's not about the consumption. Water are not, the volume of water even increase. The melting of the North Pole is adding water into the earth. Flood is everywhere. But how in these situations, in the extreme surplus of water, many people are still not able to get clean water because of the system. How we manage the water. We don't manage to close this water cycle. We wasted our water. We flush our toilet with clean water, processed water. But if we can flush our toilet using rainwater, then it will be better. And that gray water is become black water. And then the black water can still be recycled for the agriculture. So water, you think about the circularity of water as well. How to reuse this circularly. Next. Then we are talking also about the building life cycle and gaseous emissions. They're already talking about this thing about if you use concrete or you use steel, okay, fine. But remember about how long it can last. If it's able to reuse many, many times, it's fine. You just change the functions, but we keep the original one. Don't just demolish and throw away. Okay, next. So I think the priority is really, if you are trying to empower the people, to make people really choose the public transport or walk, then the greening is the key to create not just comfort, but also to absorb carbon monoxide. Plant more trees. This is what Singapore did. We are a tiny island, only 800 square kilometers. East to west is only 40 kilometers. North south is only 20 kilometers. That is the size of the country called Singapore. At the beginning, the government are trying to green the city, and they implement the concept of garden city. Then in the 90s, garden city, it seems, is not good enough, so it's become city in the garden. Very well manicured, beautiful, all green. But now is called city in nature. So city in nature means you let the nature grow as it wishes. Means native plants, zero maintenance, zero cost. But yet, those native plants is very resilient and able to generate a better impact to the city. So you spend less with the biggest impact. So whenever you build something in Singapore, means that you take away part of the nature. You have a debt to the nature. Therefore, when you build a building or a site, you have to return that to pay back immediately by increasing the green factor. So if you increase more than what you need by adding greeneries, edible plants, urban farming in the facade or in the roof, then the government will give incentive, cash, money. And that incentive came from taxpayer money. And it's fair. Why? Because we pay our debt to the nature and we give back more to the nature. We do a good deed to the nature and to everyone, the entire citizen. Therefore, the use of public money is okay. Right? And this is a kind of management that is not just about planting the trees, but also is about fairness and also about the improving the living quality and environmental quality. Because trees provide shadow, trees can retain water on the ground, trees can provide oxygen, trees absorbs carbon monoxide, trees also filtering dust and bring down the temperature, outside temperature, up to 3 to 5 degrees centigrade. Okay, next. And remember our ancestors. Our ancestors living in the mountain long time ago, or on the beach, whatever. They don't use electricity. They don't have electricity, but yet they can have a very comfortable living inside the house. The traditional vernacular architecture has been there for thousands of years, even before the so-called climate change. Even the climate is always changing. The temperature in the Philippines is always 35, 40 degrees. And there's a lot of rain. But people can live without air conditioning, without fan, at that time, comfortably. Because what you need to do is just to decrease the humidity from 90% outside to 50% or 40% inside. You only need to create cross ventilations. So we invented projected roof, louvered window, stilt house, right? And then porous floor and porous wall and breathing roof. So the space inside is very comfortable and ideal for living. And this is net zero energy, net zero waste, circular building, even before we talk about that now. And it's been there for thousands of years. So if we just pick up these principles and implement it in the contemporary building, it will have the same effect. Even now, we have a better materials, so we can make the building more durable. Next. So we call this climate wisdom. Learn from our ancestors. Before this, sorry, go back to one slide. Please go back one slide. Because my point is, look into the examples. Go back one slide, please. I show you one example on your right. There's a university, small university in Indonesia, in the Semarang city, central Java. It's very hot, 40 degrees outside. Yeah, but there is a leftover courtyard at the middle of the campus. So I told them during my talk one day, I challenged them, when I return to this campus 1 year later, can you turn this into an amphitheater? So the courtyard that is just a plantation has become amphitheater even in only 3 months. Why? Because the students work together with the staff, with the teacher, as part of the curriculum, as part of the constructions and building physics. to create this amphitheater through crowdfunding. So the university gave a few million rupiah, but they also did their own crowdfunding and buying the materials, donation of materials, and they work together as part of the CCA, but also part of the modules at the university. And you see the transformation happen because this is the place where the internet connection is the strongest. Yeah, there's a lot of internet router in every floor. This is a 4-story building. And if you sit there, the internet is very strong. And second, because of the shade of the trees, it's very cool. And because of the shade, right, it's a courtyard. So when the sun moves from east to west, this area is always shaded. If it's right on the top, during noon, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., it's protected by the tree canopy. So it's become place to be that students like to sit here and creating, not just chatting, but also doing a public talk, lecture, and so on. And imagine how much energy is saved when you turn on the air conditioning in the classroom and turn off the lamp. So they can save millions of rupiah, Indonesian rupiah, just by doing a lecture outside. Below is another extension of the Arcasia meeting in Chiang Mai, 2005. Instead of using an aircon room, they use the space under the trees. And they add umbrella, colorful umbrella. And the umbrella was moved half meters every 15 minutes just to follow the path of the sun. And it's a very beautiful and very unique way of doing conference. So next time, if you organize conference talking about sustainability, you have to walk the talk. Refuse to have the conference inside aircon room with a lot of lighting and electricity. Do that outside. Do that under the trees. I think this is a very important thing. And I challenge the students in that university. Okay, now you make a calculations, how much money you save by organizing the lecture in one semester outside the classroom. Then come to your president or university or your dean. Oh, I'm saving this million, this is $1,000. Can you give the money to subsidize our overseas trip, for example? Right? So you use this opportunity also to raise awareness on the management. To save money means that to do a so-called this to walk the talk of the sustainable living is also means money saving cost. Next. And okay, so the key is really, if we are talking about the intersections in terms of the community, is all about economy. You cannot do the advocacy. You cannot do the climate actions without money. You cannot prevent people to burn electric fuel or fossil fuel. And you cannot prevent people to be unsustainable using single-use plastic, for example, if you don't improve the economic situations. So therefore, you need to help the poorest of the society, of the urban populations, the neighborhood, to generate enough income. So they become well in terms of economy. They can sustain and getting a better lifestyle and getting the basic needs. So one way is cultural mapping. So I heard that in the Philippines, cultural mapping is already become a law. And this cultural mapping is the first step to create something. So I just give you this, I often talk about this example. So you can go to idiscoverasia.com and download the apps. Because this app was created from cultural mapping done by locals. And it's very simple. And the aim of this app is to direct global tourists, global visitors, anyone to come directly into the neighborhood and enjoy the authenticity of the place. Okay, next. So the community-based economic development is very important. So the aim of the creations of these apps is just so very simple, is to make the neighborhood prosperous. The way to do this is very simple. Number one is reveal the narrative. So the cultural mapping is done to reveal the narrative. So just take a look into the step number one. The local community is the curator. In each city, we work with local NGOs, universities, community groups, creative collectives. We spend few days together and tap into the vast knowledge, local culture of living heritage. Collectively, we define the spirit of place. The spirit of place, collective attempt to map is called cultural mapping. See the hashtag. The hashtag is very important. Hashtag neighborhood, city spirit, and local community. So it's not top down. It's not just done by expert, but it have to be done together with the local community. And after you mark up that one, you map up everything, find stories and people and places. We wander the streets, we listen to the old shopkeepers, colorful characters, and creative entrepreneurs. Through them, we learn about the traditional traits, hidden secrets, and local legends that make its neighborhood so unique. So we tell everyone about the secret of that place. It's a placemaking, but not based on the imagination placemaking, not top-down, but placemaking that come out from itself. We have taken over 1 million steps, join our journey. Hashtag travel like a local, insider secrets, and authenticity. So this is the competitive advantage of that place that is being put into the apps. Okay, next. So after find the story and places and do this mapping, next. Craft walking and cycling itineraries, not by cars, but 1 hour or 2 hours walk with or walking or combined with bicycle or whatever. So maps, words, and photos are combined into one handy app. We think the best way to experience a city in walking through back alleys or cycling through little laneways. So we take great care to craft our perfect neighborhood itinerary, and then you can download the apps for free. So people can download, and you open in your handphone, you go there and explore like a local. So the hashtag is Wanderlust, travel app, get lost without getting lost. And they also design a physical map. A local illustrator designed the neighborhood maps, local artists. Each map is a unique artistic ode to the spirit of place. Map are printed locally, and in this case, it's Hong Kong, they use in Hong Kong. If it's in the Philippines, printed locally in the Philippines. Then distributed to hotel and shop that share our passion for the authenticity. It's money making. Yeah, you can ask Starbucks as a sponsor. You can ask Pick Rolak, you know, the big leaders company in the Philippines, because you are a lechon country, right? So ask them to put the PIC logo and give the CSR money to support all this enterprise. So it's become like local enterprise, right? So you don't need to spend money on this. You don't need to ask the National Commission for Culture and Art for grant. You can ask the local, stakeholders, local design, app, and support local talent. Okay, next. Give back to the community. So the impact of this map, so we put locals on a map and make them proud. We drive traffic to the traditional shop and small entrepreneurs, from whom it's increasingly difficult to survive in a 21st century city. So every dollar spent in the local shop is a dollar well spent. This is talking about responsible tourism, developmental tourism, ecotourism. Travel responsibly and shop locally. Hashtag shop local, responsible tourism, support local business. This is what I mean by driving the money direct into the neighborhood. We avoid the middleman. We avoid the travel agent. We don't need that. Independent travelers can spend more money indirectly into the neighborhood, and at the same time also doesn't cause a problem of mass tourism or over tourism. you spread to many neighborhood. You can direct them into the most needy neighborhood. And number 6, celebrate living heritage. We bring the local community together through fun-filled events that celebrate the neighborhood spirit. Even better, you can be part of it. Grab and map and start exploring. Spirit of place, social enterprise, and keep the heritage alive. Right? So this is the true spirit of conservation and development. You develop the economy, you improve the infrastructure, you make the people, local people happy, tourists will come to enjoy, to celebrate together with the local people. And by that, you preserve the so-called local culture. So this is one of several examples. You can download Manila in the Philippines, there are already 2. You go to their website, Probation, and then next. Yeah, so this folded map, next. So it show the itinerary. Then it show the uniquely Poblacion. There are several logo there. I eat, I shop, and I drink. Okay, so when you walk in 2 hours or 1 hour, of course you need to drink, you need to shop, you need to eat, right? So you can list all this local product there. You don't need to put Holy right? Because it's already everywhere. You don't need to put 7-Eleven because it's already there. But you put a small shop, small owner that is not well known, that produce something uniquely. Yeah. I shop also, local craft and so on. So you give the opportunity to everyone in the neighborhood to earn something, a unique product. Then there are 2 things that is added into that. I see and I surprise. I see is the place that you want to see, you can take selfie. I surprise is something that wow you. This is the identity of the place that people should know. And you can only surprise by visiting this place here, not in the different neighborhood. Yeah, so the key is just from the cultural mapping, you create this itinerary by walk or by bicycle in a short period of time, and then drive them into things that they need to see and things that will surprise them. Then on that trail, you can find delicious drink, very specific, authentic drink, authentic food, and authentic shopping. Very simple. Okay, next. There's another examples, another area. Okay, next. Yeah, the same. I see, I shop, I eat, I surprise, I drink. Of course, you can add, I sleep, for example. You can stay, put homestay there, right? So let the people open the homestay business. You can add something else, right? Okay, next. So this has been implemented widely. Now it's not just I discovered it's just one way. And this is another example in Jeju Ole in Korea. So this lady, only a single fighter, a native of that island, managed to bring the entire community of the island to join the cultural mapping and then creating 26 routes that cover 425 kilometers. Jeju is UNESCO World Heritage Site because of the volcano. So you cannot touch the mountain. And people only go there in the past because of the Korean drama. They just want to take selfie and then disappear. So only one area they enjoy the economic benefit. But because of this mapping, which is not involving cars. So people, if you want to go into this route, they have to walk or use bicycle of this trail. The total amount of income for South Korea is 1.2 million. Sorry, $25 billion in the economic benefit of Korea alone, because this is famous all over the world. People coming to Korea just go to Jeju Ole, have to land in the international airport. You have to take high-speed train, have to take public transport, including boat, crossing into the Jeju. And in Jeju, they just go to these points, and then you experience today, this weekend, I want to take route number 1. Next month, I coming back, I take route number 2. Another month, so you have this repeat tourist that doesn't create pollutions that spread all over the island, not concentrated in just one places. So 1.2 million people has been visited this place in 2008. Now even more. Next. So the trail is very simple. Start and finish, the difficulty levels, and then what can you expect in that route. In the X route, the same like this, where you can drink, you can eat, you can sleep, you can buy. There's something that is, you can surprise you, something that you need to see. So everything is included in that trail, and you can do that one trail in one day. Next. So the impact is enormous. The development of the countryside. It stopped urban migrations. The youngsters willing to stay in the village and take over the parents' business, become farmer, producing fruits, producing craft. So the intangible heritage is safe and continue to the next generation smoothly because the younger generations see the economic benefit and the point of doing this, the sense of purpose. And second, there is no big development. You don't need big hotels. You don't need big investors coming here. Let the economy is for our benefit, not for the middleman, not for the benefit of the bigger companies. But at the same time, also, we preserve the authenticity of the place, the authenticity of the nature by not allowing large-scale development. We don't need a big highway or infrastructure because everyone is walking. And they provide you with a passport. Okay, next one. A passport that you can collect a chalk. So it creates this kind of repeat visitors. So you can feel the sense of achievement by this passport, right? So this is a kind of thing, small things that you can imitate. You can do it in your own village, your own town, part of the city, without necessarily waiting for the government actions or government help. This can be done bottom up by yourself right now, near your school, near your university. Next. So just back from Songkla, Seacha Clinic, we did the same things. So it's only 2 days, 2 days exercise, very simple. And these youngsters, the students, produce narratives of a small town of Songkla in southern Thailand. Nick was there. Yeah, Nick is joining because we did that in San Carlos before. So he can explain how this had happened and help you how to do this in your own neighborhood. But I think most important thing is that this narrative is not just implemented or coming from your own ideas, but this narrative is because it's done by interactions with the locals. Okay, next. Before that, yeah, last week we did it also in Bolhon, in Cebu. Same thing. It's in the process. And the mapping is done by the cheapest way is Google My Map. To just create an account in Google My Map for free, and then you pin all these places that is related to I see, I surprise, I drink, I eat, I shop, and then you can add, writing or even informations or WhatsApp or even YouTube about that specific place. Then you start to design the map. Okay, next. Yeah, so it's a problem of Bolhon. It's about economy. It's about natural disaster. And it's about because of the use of the lime. No? The limestone was taken out from the hills because they want to create concrete, and concrete is used to build the road infrastructure. Yes, fine, but the concrete, the cement factory is creating pollutions, creating health problems, destroying the water quality as well, right? And then this example of this construction's bottom is to create a road, a platform for selfie at the Ili Hills, one of very important mountain there. But yet at the same time, you have a very peaceful town, very historical church. Then there's an opportunity. DOT chief, there's a news last week. more long weekend to boost domestic tourism in the country. But then if you look into the statistic at the bottom, for 40 incident in Bullhorn is increasing in 2021. So this is the point that when you look into the planning or planning the sustainable development or cultural mapping or itinerary, whatever, the first thing that you need to look at is the economic situation. How we can bring benefits to the local community, help the weakest neighborhood, help the weakest community so they become prosperous. So they can afford educations, they can afford clean water, they can afford better food, and so on. And that is directly addressing the 17 SDG. Next. Well, we did it in last year in 2023 in San Carlos. I don't know whether some of you is joining this one. We already worked out some idea about narratives. So I just want to see whether we can move forward from here, whether a several itinerary can be created, not just in San Carlos, but in different parts in Pangasinan, every neighborhood, every town. And who do this? You don't wait from the government. You start from yourself and create something, creating an app, creating a map that is downloadable, the PDF downloadable from the internet for free, and let people come use your map to explore the authenticity of the place. Next. See? Look at these happy people, right? So it's not just the youth, but also the people from the Southeast Asia, from Indonesia, is coming, from Thailand, no? Senior from the Manila, from the commissions, work together with local mayor. So this is the effort of the all stakeholders together. So this togetherness is very important key for a successful, heritage movement, a successful economic development. Next. So it starts from you, individual of you. If you are a teacher, think about the mission of university, teaching, service, and research. You can combine that as part of this mission. And second, you train yourself in three aspects. You need to sharpen your cognitive knowledge, understanding. You need to strengthen your psychomotoric, your skill, your competence in creating apps and creating writing. But most important, you need to strengthen your affective values and ethics. So this trinity of educations, the trinity of pedagogy should be part that form a strong individuals through educations. Now you are studying in a university, studying in high school, in a college. Use this opportunity actually to sharpen all these components. And you can use the teaching staff and research to work together with the university to create programs. Next, if you want to need the help, there is a lot of organizations that are willing to help you. E-commerce Scientific Community, Documemo International, or SEATA, Southeast Asia Cultural Heritage Alliance, Asian Academy of Heritage Management, and so on. And then you have a local National Heritage Trust, the NGO. All of this are a network that can help to empower you. If you need help, just talk. Talk to Nick. Nick's how to connect this. And second, of course, to create a curriculum, capacity building, heritage empowerment for educations. And the curriculum has been provided by UNESCO, by Asian Academy of Heritage Management, if you are talking about the heritage educations. And the training is provide education from the executive level, which is the mayor, the decision maker on the ministerial level, the senior manager, middle manager, technical specialists, or even skilled workers. Next. So this competence framework can be downloaded for free. So the curriculum template is already there. You arrange the tools to implement this, to make an individual, each youth empowered. And this empowerment is important so you can take initiative to take your first steps. Next. Next. So I just quote this. we have to keep our promise to achieve UN SMD SDGs 2030. Okay, it'll be late, it's fine. But with fundamental ethical mindset, with compassion towards the planet and humanity, the absence of greed and corruption, an appreciation of indigenous culture and knowledge, commitment to democratic values, and consideration of social justice. So this is the prerequisite for a successful program. You can have a very good program, but because of corruptions, because of greed, everything will fall apart. Next. And why we are doing this talk today, hopefully by empowering you, we are empowering students today because you will become leaders tomorrow. And why we are doing that? I quote Nelson Mandela, education is the most powerful weapons which you can change the world. And I close my talk by quoting Mahatma Gandhi again in the last slide. Please be the change that you want to see in the world. Don't wait somebody else doing this job. It's our individual responsibility. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Johan Swidodo, for that very informative and inspirational talk. I'm sure our participants learned about the interaction of heritage and sustainability and climate action. Also, I am amazed by the I Discover Yangon City Walks. It is inspiring to adopt it in the Philippines to uncover more local stories that is accessible to the majority. Now, before we proceed to our open forum, the question and answer portion, may we remind our participants to please complete the evaluation form for this webinar to receive your e-certificates of participation. The link for the form is now flashed on your screens and was already sent by our technical team in the chat box, or you may scan the code that was shown on the screen. While everyone is typing in their questions, let me share some good news. Make sure to like and follow our FB page and Instagram, Youth for Pangasinan Heritage, for more relevant and substantive Tawir talks. Further, you may like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, which could help in flourishing our knowledge of our cultural heritage and preserving our historical DNA. Now, we will now proceed to the open forum. To our participants, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the Q&A tab. Okay. Oh, we have here Angel Grace Espiritu. Good day po. I'm Angel po from Pangasinan Youth, a youth-led non-government organization based in Pangasinan. So she's sharing Doc Johans for your insightful. Thank you for your insightful discussions on empowering youth for sustainable futures through the intersection of heritage, sustainability, and climate action. So the question is, how can we encourage communities, particularly youth, to participate in heritage conservation efforts despite the associated costs and the requirement for specialized expertise?
Okay. Google My Map is zero cost. Google Drive is zero cost. The cost is your internet subscription, right? So to do the cultural mapping is zero. Of course, the cost is indirect cost. Your food, your drinks, your bubble tea, this is all the costs. And how to encourage people, start from yourself and your friends. It doesn't matter, it's only 1 or 2 or 5 from that neighborhood, not from elsewhere. You can be from elsewhere, but look for people from that neighborhood that have the same idea and just start the mapping first. And after that pinning on that Google My Map, which is free, then sit down together in a cafe, go to Holy Bee, eat fried chicken, and then you start to think about how to connect those dots to create the itineraries. And then you try it. And then you start to put it on the map for free using PDF, using whatever. You can use, if you have a skill to make a coding, make a simple apps, that's fine. But if not, just do a simple map on the paper or digital map and then print it on PDF and then sell it. Sell it, ask people to try. Ask the local to try. Then I believe that will grow into snowball after you show the benefit of it. Several people start coming to buy these things, to drink that things. They never come before. So the income increase in the neighborhood. So they start to see the benefit, and when they start to do benefit, they want to have more. And more, and maybe another neighbors is inspired to do this. If one barangay is successful enough, it's become so famous nationwide because of these apps, I think the other barangays will be very envious, and they want to follow. Right? You start to with the first step before you can do a 1,000 kilometers journey. And that first step is start from you and your friends. And use 0 pesos to start. Use the cheapest cost platform and tools that is easily available now.
Okay. Oh, thank you so much, Dr. Widodo. Now we have a question from Sir Kevin.
Okay.
So you would like to ask this question: how can the field of engineering help in heritage preservation, especially that we are now facing the tremendous effects of the climate crisis?
Engineering is a very important field and also actions in climate change because you have the knowledge and you have the skill and technology to do that. I think most important is role is to build the infrastructure. But I suggest that the engineers and everyone read this classical book. It's published in the 70s. Smart, Small is Beautiful. Economics of His People Method. Because this book talks about appropriate technology. Technology that is circular, that is helping people, affordable, and able to resolve the problems locally. So I think this classical book should be the basic reading of all students and also all engineers, architects, urban planners. We need to revisit this in terms of climate change. It's almost forgotten. So I just bought this, the physical book because I don't like, I lost my old one that I read in the 80s. So rather than downloading the PDF, as I say, well, the reason is because the PDF or the cloud will disappear. So I make a point to buy this one. It's not that expensive. But to answer that, use appropriate technology. Technology that is affordable and effective. For example, like passive building system. By creating passive systems in architecture, we use the concept from vernacular architecture to create comfort within the building without energy. We just use the so-called stack effect, that the hot air will go up, cool air stays on the ground. We use the eaves and shadow to bring in cross ventilations. We rely on the sunrise and sunset to heat and to cool a different side of the building to create cross ventilations. So that is one example of appropriate technology.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Widodo. Do we still have any other questions? Okay, from Kristen Nogot. The Philippines has many heritage structures that are vulnerable due to their old age. What is your opinion on the high cost of heritage restoration? She's
Okay.
from UST, University of Santo Tomas.
All right, I think the problem of this heritage structure and so on is because you rely on contractors. Because the so-called the traditional way of repairing the buildings, the availability of materials is problematic. I give you one example in Singapore. Lime is forbidden to use in Singapore. It's not available. So we have to replace everything by white cement. And the argument is because white cement is stronger and need less maintenance. But the impact of white cement and not lime in the colonial constructions is water seepage. The wall cannot breathe anymore. So it destroyed the wall from inside. And the problem is if we want to return to see like breathing wall, use lime again, we need to change the law and regulations. Like allowed to import lime from outside. Okay, so that's one first hurdle, is whether the regulatory framework is in favor of using the traditional materials. And second is to retrain the contractors to be able to deal with traditional materials, right? And that's the requirements that to enable them to use the material properly. So imagine if we can return, say, like for example, lime in the building materials here for the colonial building. So is the building is getting is cheaper to maintain. And if there is a manpower who can do that, and there is a contractor that's specializing in the proper, appropriate conservation techniques, then there's a new job opportunity is being created, right? And third, if we return the old colonial buildings into a vernacular building, as a open up the courtyard, remove the aircon, or change the aircon into hybrid aircon system by minimizing the use of energy, and reducing the condensations, and promote cross ventilations. That will further, bring down the cost. Another issue with Singapore, is the bamboo is also banned in Singapore. And the reason is because bamboo is absorb water from the ground. And that time, Singapore need water, groundwater. So the law is still there. And we know that bamboo actually is very sustainable, right? So I think if you're talking about the Philippines, you need to do some inventory and study about what is missing in the circular building system, traditional building system, and how to restore that, how to help to build the capacity, and to remove all the legal hurdle, and to train more people to use this as a economic, to show them the economic opportunity from there. And the academic institution has this opportunity because you can start by creating a pilot project using not just workshop, but also a pilot project of a certain building, in order to start to open the eyes of the authorities, open the eyes of the private sectors, the contractors, but at the same time also to implement a correct way of doing things. Because like lime, like I said just before, just now, lime has a capacity to absorb carbon monoxide from the air. So that white cement doesn't have the capacity. And if you highlight these benefits, scientific benefits, so I think it's easier to convince the all stakeholders and people, actors who are involved in this. So my answer to this, of course, is not, sometimes it's not because of the inavailability of material, but also because of regulations, and also because of inavailability of skilled laborers and skilled contractors who do that.
Okay. Thank you so much for that, Paul. Also, she has a follow-up question. You mentioned that heritage is not just about the past. Do you think it's practical to do heritage restoration of very old structures or arts for the purpose of historical and cultural preservation? And isn't it that once an art of history is restored, its value decreases?
Well, heritage is not for sale. That's one thing, right? So it's not about value decrease or increase. And second is also the fact that building is like human being. It has the right to die as well. If it's too expensive to restore, if it's already crumbling, it's impossible to restore, there's a need to revive it and become zombie, right? So restoration sometimes is problematic because restorations is something new, which is not authentic anymore. Heritage is not about the past, as I say. Whatever building that we have now, as a value as a heritage. Your generations, younger generations, maybe value their school or polyclinic or even a shopping mall that built last year or 3 or 10 years ago more than the historic structures, like the church from the colonial period. or shop houses from the American or Spanish period. Right? So I think it's important to understand that the the everything has a chance to be extended the lease of life of that building. So if it's not practical, then forget it. If it's too expensive, then forget it. But if this is really, really important and significant, like national monuments, then you can spend more money, more effort to do a very expensive restorations. But the purpose is not for sale. The purpose is to keep the memory of the past as a textbook for the next generations. Right?
Oh.
So decrease or not decrease is not the real matter.
In connection with that, will you recommend using adaptive reuse of some historical places to restore them?
Sorry?
In connection with that, do you recommend adaptive reuse of some historical places to restore them?
Oh, yes. Adaptive reuse is very important. So I have 5 principles in terms of, always say 5 in 1. Number 1 is environmental sustainability reason. Second, economic viability. So you should show the money first, especially if it is private owner, because keeping the carbon can generate incentives. Like country like in Singapore, if we keep the old buildings from 60s, concrete building, and turn it into net zero energy building, green mark certified, building authority will give incentive $600,000 to $1.2 million cash for that conversions. So making the building, keeping the building at the free reuse and make it net zero well certified, generate money. Urban Development Authority in Singapore, if we keep significant building, modern heritage, like Golden Mile Tower, Golden Mile Complex, for example, Urban Development Authority will give incentive additional GFA nearby. So the buyer, the owner, still earn a handsome amount of money, but same time also able to say. So economic viability is more. No honey if there is no money. First is to frame the narratives about conservation as a money-making things, although it's not indirectly from the functions, but from incentive, from additional GFA and so on. And then number 3, start talking about the social historical significance. This is important for the memory. Then you can talk about the cultural authenticity. Then finally, you talk about architectural integrity. How you combine the old and the new together to keep the authenticity and integrity together. You don't start from, let's save this building because it's historical significance. Nobody will buy that, especially if this is a private property. You must start from economic, you must start from environment argument first, then you start with other things. Then you save the building, and you can do much more to preserve the memory of place, the architecture of the building after that.
Okay. Okay, now we have here from Micaela Cao. She just want to share that she went to the TTCL Century in Malacca a few weeks ago. Just wanted to say that it was cool to see NUS has done with a pair of townhouses. She was especially intrigued by the use of honest intervention since the concept isn't widespread here in the Philippines. So she is from UP Diliman, University of the Philippines. Diliman.
Okay, so welcome for those who never visited that place again. Not just in Malacca, but also welcome to Singapore as well. I will show you around the first net zero energy building, new rebuild. Is my office, this one, at NUS campus, SDE4, which is actually a few years ago, was just received a new certification as energy positive building. So we produce 15 to 20% energy surplus just by a very small size of the solar panel. And because we implement these vernacular principles. Okay, so welcome. We also have Baba House here and architecture lab here to show all these possibilities.
Wow, that's nice. Okay. Now for the next question from Jerry Ceballos. Can you give an example of a strategy which can be implemented to create a symbiotic relationship between heritage conservation, sustainable practices, climate change mitigation, and tourism development?
I think one of the successful examples happened in the small neighborhood. For example, if you look into the impact of I Discover Asia apps, yeah, there are many neighborhoods that's been mapped in Hong Kong, in India, and in many places. Not all, but some of them really show realistic conservations, because the people there see the importance of keeping the originality and authenticity of their place. They don't want to change. Why? Because they see the tourists coming here, visitor coming here because of this I surprise and I see. And they are willing to continue the productions of craft and production of food and drink, which is different from other places, right? So heritage conservation happened because of sustainable tourism, sustainable practices. And climate change mitigation is part of this. For example, to make the house more sustainable by opening up the enclosed courtyard, replacing the aircon into hybrid aircon, and implementing the fan, just like the old days, right? So and also the planting of trees to make the street is more walkable, is more comfortable walking under the sun. And additional trees bring down the temperature to 2 or 3 degrees outside. So the wind coming into your house is always become cooler, and you have more oxygen and less carbon monoxide. And people start thinking about, hey, why don't we ban the car and let the car park far away and let them walk and provide with the shared bicycle to come here, or provide with recycle. So this is a kind of generative impact that can happen from just a very simple apps. Right? So the relationship and tourism can be managed together as a whole in totality, not by piecemeal approach.
Okay, thank you so much for that. For the last question, oh, we have here a question. Two more po. How can we make more rural areas more walkable po? Whereas the issue lies not in car centricity, but rather in narrow roads while preserving heritage trees. So this question is from Angel, a PUP student.
Okay, rural area. Well, I think the key is really how to keep the present situation as today. So mass tourism is really a threat because there'll be more cars, there'll be more public, more buses, big buses coming for parking, passing by, and it threaten the normal livelihood of the community. So like what I experienced in Bolhon just now last week, right? So it's okay because the frequency of the big buses looking for the whale sighting. There's a whale sighting place a few kilometers south, are not that extensive, not a lot for the moment. But one, for example, like the church is declared as UNESCO World Heritage Sites and promoted everywhere, then probably the mass tourism will come. So I think tourism management, how to calculate the so-called the bearing capacity of the environmentally, socially, economically, should be carried out at the beginning. So heritage impact assessment, environmental impact assessment, and tourism impact assessment should be carried out at the very beginning for the planning. Then you start to deal with that. You know, the country like Bhutan, they just impose very expensive tourism tax. So they don't want to have mass tourism. They want the money, but with less tourists. So they can select good tourists, not just hippies, not just people who just want to go selfie and hit and run. We want people that want to stay and spend and enjoy and learn about their culture. And with that money, they managed to create low-rise city. So the city, the capital of Bhutan, is no more building than 4 stories height. Why? Because they can afford this. So I think this is a part of the so-called the sustainable economic tourism management system that translates into conservation management plan.
Thank you so much for that. And a question from Sir Kevin Ivasco, an instructor from Pangasinan State University in the Ordinate campus. What are the threats faced by our heritage structure? So, with the high heat indices being recorded in the Philippines for the past month, so what are the threats faced by our heritage structures?
Well, I think heat is, of course, it's like to the building, maybe is decay, maybe is not, but the most threatening things about the overheat of our Earth is the occurrence of typhoon. The natural disasters will be increased. El Nino is getting worse, right? Even it can happen in any time and with a stronger effect, and that is very destructive. So it's not just isolated within a building or a barangay or a city or regions, but it's also a global issue. That's why global warming is real threat because of the increase of the disasters, and that will, of course, will destroy the heritage, any heritage structure or non-heritage structure as well, even destroying life.
Okay po. So we have here last question from Cyrus Hiralde from FINMA University of Pangasinan. I would like to ask a question regarding how can technology and social media be leveraged to connect young people globally on these issues?
I think it's very obvious, right? If your my Facebook have 5,000 friends, and every day I'm killing people, I think removing people is non-active or selling things to provide more space for my Facebook, because my wall is very effective. It's become influencer. I think you can do the same with TikTok. You can do the same with Instagram, with Telegram, so whatever. So I think this is very important to market. For example, if you have new apps like I Discover and build for your town, you can easily spread this through the social media to blog, and then people start coming, downloading that, and become your friends. And your friends coming to your village and your barangay, to your neighborhood in the city, and start spending money, sleeping there. So you create world peace, right? Because you create friendship and understanding about culture. And at the same time, also you bring in money into the neighborhood. So this social media and technology is good in terms of promotions, in terms of bringing people together.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Dr. John Widodo. Unfortunately, this is the only time that we have for our Q&A, and we will be collating all unanswered questions and we'll be sending them to our speaker. Thank you very much to our speaker for answering our participants' questions. So we as youth have the power to contribute. We can start from something small to create something great. This is our prime to execute our optimism to sustain better tomorrows. For the reason that to continue passing our heritage, we must act on our present to have a future. May we all keep the fire in us that fuels us to move forward. So before we end this webinar, we will present the e-certificate of appreciation to our distinguished research speaker. So let me read to you the text. The Youth for Pangasinan Heritage hereby award the Certificate of Appreciation to our Honorable Speaker, Dr. Johan Widodo, for sharing his expertise about empowering youth for sustainable futures, exploring the intersection of heritage, sustainability, and climate action, held this 17th day of May 2024. Undersigned by Diona Tibolid, the Vice President for Education and Learning Development, and President Nicanor Hermano Jr. of Youth for Pangasinan Heritage. Once again, we are grateful for this learning opportunity, Dr. Johan Widodo. And before we all go, may I ask everyone to please open your camera. Let's have a photo opportunity. Okay. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Show your best smiles, everyone. Stack them, okay. Okay. Maybe may I remind again about the e-certificates? Don't forget to fill out those forms to receive your certification. Also, thank you, everyone. Thank you very much, Dr.
Thank
Johan
you.
Spinodo, for being with us this morning. Thank you also to our participants for sharing your valuable time with us today. I think that's it, and we hope to see you again soon. Happy lunch and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye.